Talk Radio.
On 102.7.
KCHW.
Tooele!
The annoying tick in the background's gone. Oh,
We're live, you know that, right?
I know.
There we go, and good morning. It's KCHW 102.7. Big Mike Bentz jumping the gun a little bit, and Scott playing double intro music because I'm sitting so far back from my board, my little dinosaur T-Rex arms can't reach anything.
So when you walk, you squat?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'm always like this, trying to grab something. All right.
So you're in your new studio.
I mean, well, I'm actually remodeling the new studio. It's kind of embarrassing to say, but the extra room had kind of a funny smell to it since I moved in, and I just couldn't. I tried everything, and I figured I'd shampooed the carpets, and nothing was getting rid of the stench. So I actually tore everything out. I'm down to the cement slab. And going to redo that room. So I have actually moved into my living room, but so you can't see my messy kitchen, I have a beautiful black curtain behind
That's
me.
what I was saying. It almost looks like a real studio.
It is a real studio.
Ah.
It's just taking up a corner of my living room. So
how do you explain that when you have a date?
I have been unable, let's see, I've been here coming up on 2 months now, is it?
Pretty close.
I have not been able to secure a date yet. I'm not doing very well. Although I did not have time to check it. I did see on my phone today, somebody sent me a like, so I might have a date. You never know. So.
Okay. Well, what you need to do is, the Maine Coon shirt that you have.
Yes.
You need to wear that.
You need to wear that. Yeah, I think that's really attractive to women, a guy wearing a cat shirt.
Well, it'll attract the right type of person for you.
Okay, you might be somebody that likes cats and cat hair.
Yeah. Yeah, don't mind all the cat hair.
All right.
Maybe they're just afraid you're going to talk about them on the radio.
Oh, well, I don't share that with them like right away because then they can stalk me.
Oh. Yeah.
And I've had people just give them enough information where, like, there was one gal I was talking to a few weeks back, and all this, and I hadn't told her who I was really, and what I did and stuff, and she comes back at me like the next day and goes, "I watched your radio show this morning," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
So now you got to watch what you talk about.
You got to watch what you talk about because you might give them too much information. Now they could stalk you, but she didn't stalk me, unfortunately. I'm all into being stalked.
So if you want to be stalked or trolled, go to KCHW 102.7.
Yeah, or you know what that thing is, catfish? Do you know what that means, catfishing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and if anybody's listening and they don't know that term, that's really popular on Facebook and dating sites. And it could be a man or a woman or somebody pretending to be a man or a woman. And what they do is they target older men, that are single, and they, smooch up to you, be really nice and sweet to you, and then all of a sudden it's, my cell phone's broken. Would you buy me a new one? Hey, will you send me money for a plane ticket so I can come visit you? And that kind of stuff. I actually know older guys who've fallen for that and sent money for plane tickets and stuff. That is a bad idea. This person is never going to come visit you. And it's usually a picture of a hot chick around 30 that's not going to have anything to do with a grizzly old 60-year-old man. It's not going to happen.
Well, you got to be careful on those dating sites. I had a nephew that met some lady in Pennsylvania. He was in Oregon over a dating site. And the next thing my brother found out, he was in Pennsylvania married.
Oh, well, it worked out for him then.
Worked out for him, yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe. So I actually, on one of the dating sites I put in there, would somebody please at least catfish me? Need some attention. All right.
Goodness.
Say it. Oh, my Lanta.
He's always making fun of me for that.
I'm sorry. I like it. I like it. I like it when you do that. Oh, my Lanta. Then I know I've said something extremely stupid. All right. Are we all fired up on the Facebook and
Yes.
back on YouTube this morning? Everything working, Michelle?
Yeah, we are good to go.
Look at that, all lit up, and of course, live on the website, both audio and video. We got our glitch worked out, and I think everything is working. I noticed we had a YouTube video yesterday as well, so we're back online there. Thanks for tuning in on all of our different platforms. We appreciate it. We're still going to start off with a little weather for Chihuahua today. Oh, by the way, we're nationwide. I had a buddy that's doing some traveling. He's made some friends across the country, and he said his friends in Singapore love our morning show and have been listening every morning.
Yay!
So that's totally awesome. Thanks for tuning in Singapore.
Yeah.
Now today's going to be really local. You might not enjoy it as much. Mike does the nonprofit roundup of different nonprofit agencies here in Chihuahua and community service agencies. And then we have a interview at 8 with the mayor. So you might not enjoy all the local stuff as much if you're listening in Singapore today. But thanks for tuning in. It's awesome. We love it. We love it.
Yes.
Let's see. Today in Chihuahua, 89 with sunshine, mix of clouds. Tonight dropping down to 56, clear skies. You guys have beautiful weather. Now, after all the rain you got, hopefully the ground soaked it up because you are stuck in the 80s and 90s with clear skies for at least the next 10 days. Thursday right now, 89 and 58. Friday, 91 and 59. Saturday, 90. Sunday, 87. Sunshine throughout the period. Back to work Monday, 82 and 55. And then right here in Lincoln where I'm sitting, it's a nice 74 degrees this morning. Expected high around 83 with sunny to partly cloudy skies. Had a little thunder boomer last night. That was exciting.
Yeah, I was reading the news this morning, and I guess just south of Spokane and up through Coeur d'Alene, they had some really heavy-duty thunder boomers.
Really?
That's funny. I was going to ask you, Mike, since you're kind of across the valley from
Right.
where I'm at, because we had some lightning up in Loon Lake last night. I was
Yeah,
wondering
no,
if
it
you
didn't
saw
make it this
anything.
far north,
Mhm.
but there was a news feed where some building got hit where people
Oh.
work at night,
Ooh.
Oh.
and
Shocking.
it was kind of funny. I'm sitting there reading it, and the guy there interviewed goes, "Yep, my hair stood on end, the computer's blacked out, we had no power, and all of a sudden there was a kaboom, and it hit the building."
Oh, wow.
That would freak me out. I don't know about you guys, but
I worked at a AM radio station, which AM puts out a lot more radio frequency radiation, RF radiation. And it would, we had an antenna, and this probably wasn't safe or up to government specs, I'm going to say. But the antenna was a whopping maybe 40 feet out the back door. And it would get hit by lightning all the time. And if you opened the back door of the radio station, the air was actually glowing green. This radio station had so much radiation through it. I started at 3 in the afternoon, and then I did a nighttime show to get my 8 hours in. And in the nighttime show, everybody's out of the building, so I would go to my bin and I would get out my black lights and fluorescent tube black lights because I was doing a late night rock show and I just needed the atmosphere. All I had to do was tape them to the wall, and they came on.
Oh,
If
my
you-
gosh.
If you
Oh,
opened
jeez.
the closet, we had a box of fluorescent tubes. When you open the closet, the box of fluorescent tubes is already lit up. And they're not even plugged in. I mean, that's how much radiation was pouring through this thing, and that's why I glow in the dark.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah. No, be more forgiving.
Yeah. My cat's going in for radiation therapy for thyroid, and they were telling me all this stuff that I can't do. Like after the cat comes home, I can't be around her. I have to stay 6 feet away. It's like she has COVID, and that don't pet her for more than 20 minutes a day. And I'm just like, really? I've had so much radiation in my life for working in broadcasting. I am not concerned about this. So light me up.
So just turn out the light and we'll see if you glow.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be kind of freaky, Michelle? We see like the glasses, and when he opens his mouth, his teeth,
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe a beam of light shooting out of his mouth.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
there
like
he
that.
is.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I knew it.
I do glow in the dark, you guys. Look. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he does.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, if you you need to get on and watch.
It's a bonus. See, I told you I have too much radiation.
Just use that as your profile picture. Be like, I have superpowers.
Exactly.
Well, no, I'd say something like, "Hey, ladies, I glow in the
Now,
dark."
now, if beams come out of his eyes, then I'm quitting.
All right. All right. Kind of feel like He-Man now. I have the power. All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. This morning, Mr. Mike Bentz does our nonprofit roundup on Wednesdays. Where do you want to start this morning? And we'll get going. And then we got the Mayor Greg McCunn coming in at 8 to give us a lowdown on the city of Chihuahua.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this summertime, so things are backed off a little bit, so I don't have my new normal 14-page report.
Okay.
But but I'll start with the chamber. On the chamber side, I at the top of the show, at the bottom of the show, I want to convince people or encourage people to go get some chamber bucks. The chamber bucks are one of the ways that chamber supports the local businesses. You can go in and buy various denominations. They can be used for a lot of different things, from celebrations to awards to just saying, hey, I want to give money right back to the community as I buy these things without having MasterCard getting a cut. So, and they never expire, which is really, really nice. They're actually treated like a gift card, from that perspective. And they're available at the chamber office. And I believe the independent, the chamber office is closed this week because Piani's on vacation, but you can pop in next Tuesday and you can buy as much as you want.
Okay.
And I know at the golf course, for those business listeners, we use those as incentive programs, for the employees, as they do a phenomenal job. And we get really good response back because they can use them, like, say, at 41 or 42 businesses in Chihuahua. So it goes anywhere from, Safeway to the Oasis. How's that a spread?
That is great. And eating with them, I mean, the fact that you can use them at restaurants is great too. Before I left, I got cards from lots of people. Mike gave me a bunch of chamber bucks, and it was great because that last week while I was packing up everything, I didn't have to worry about the kitchen and keeping it going till the last minute because Mike had sat me up with enough chamber bucks to feed me for a week. So
Really?
I was able to go around town and just eat at different restaurants before I left, and it was awesome.
It must be because you're such a quality guy.
Oh, I keep saying it's like I got so many cards, and people actually shoved money in them and stuff. It's like people paid me to leave.
Maybe that's a message.
They're just disappointed. They had no idea I'd still be on the radio after I left.
That's right. People still ask me, is Scott coming back? Well, he's back.
Just tune in.
That's right.
You can see me and everything.
Every morning.
It's Scott without the funny smells.
And he looks better.
Yeah.
And you do, actually. You do look better.
I as far as like health-wise, still got allergy problems. I was hoping I wouldn't have the same ones, but I'm doing really well here. It's working out for me. So
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit. I just want to remind people that the Forest Service is in the chamber office on Tuesdays from 10 to 3. You can stop by and see Eric, and you can pretty much get anything you can want that you can get at the Forest Service, National Forest Service office in Colville. So anywhere from firewood permits to ATV trail maps to regulations. And of course, that's a good place to go right now and pick up the fire danger levels and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pilot project that the Forest Service decided to team up with the Chamber on to see what kind of response they get, because they really have no presence on the south end of the Pend Oreille or the Colville National Forest. And, the Chihuahua is the gateway to from the south, from the Colville National Forest. So it just makes sense if they've got a place people can stop by and get that information. And I believe if it works out well, then they'll look at a stronger presence going into next year, because this will probably last, I think, probably through October-ish, somewhere in that neighbor time. and then hopefully it'll be back next year. But it is something we've been talking about for, man, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. But then, COVID threw a wrinkle in it there for a couple of years, that type of thing. So
Was he in yesterday? Since Tuesday's his day, but you said she
no,
was
he wouldn't have been in yesterday
Oh,
because.
we sent people there
Oh, really?
trying to do good.
I thought it was
There might
Tuesday.
be,
Is it Wednesday?
and I'll have to check that out because I'm going to be downtown tomorrow. We've got these racks that are outside, of the office itself, and then I'll check to see if the kiosk has stuff. The kiosk in the park. That would be a great place for like maps and stuff like that. And that was all refurbished this year. And I know the maps that we get from like Selkirk and Stevens County, Tri-County maps are probably the most popular item that leave that kiosk. So if it's not there, I'll put a bug in their ear.
Okay. And Michelle, you tried to interject something. What were you going to say?
I was just asking or clarifying. That's Tuesday that they're in the chamber office, right? Because I'm pretty sure that's what it says on the calendar.
Correct.
So I did make
Yeah,
an announcement.
the actual ranger's there, but then Peony actually has the stuff, so you can stop by anytime Monday through Saturday or Friday, and anywhere from say 9 to 2 is probably a good time, and pick it up, even if the ranger's not there. The nice thing about the ranger there is you can ask questions and things that are related to it. But if you just want a map or you want to, pick up, the regulations on firewood, ATV trails, horseback riding trails. I mean, I don't know how much either of you been up in the Colville National Forest, but I went up there with some people that are looking at moving here, I don't know, 2-3 days ago, just up through the horse camp, on the south end off of Sand Canyon Road. Mm-hmm. And it's unreal, the number of people that are just kind of glamping up there. Mm-hmm. I didn't see any tents, but I saw lots of RVs in one form or another. But so it's a pretty popular place to go.
Speaking of RVs, I camped. I won't tell the story again because I did yesterday, but I went camping this last weekend at a place that has a concert every weekend. And I drove into the place, and in the main entry area, there was probably 200 newer RVs lined up in rows. And they have a wilderness area and this open area by the concert stage and stuff. And I drove through in the old zombie truck. And I've never seen so many people sitting outside their RVs with their chins dragging on the ground as I drove through in the zombie truck.
I could just see this. Scott drives up the zombie truck, and on either side of him is like a $2 million Prevost.
Oh yeah, I'm driving by $1 million RVs in my old zombie truck with the pots and pans rattling in the back and stuff. But you have to go like 5 miles an hour. I actually had people come walking up to my window going, "This is so cool." But I was a little out of place. I got some looks. So.
Okay, well, I also want to remind people that Children's Arts Festivals this weekend on the 16th and the 17th in the park at the Children's Pavilion. And it's a full day on both days of a variety of different craft type, art type things that kids can do. And that's a kind of a fun one because you just show up and have fun. The Stage Time Theater, they're going on this week, and then they accumulate what they do this week, and they do something this weekend in the Children's Pavilion. So
I was wondering if that's what was going to happen, since we're post Chautauqua, and that was the Arts Guild. That was a big part, the Children's Pavilion and stuff of Chautauqua. So and I knew Stage Time was still doing their work with the kids, and then a play at the end. So that's great that they've tied it all together in the park this weekend.
Yeah. They're, we're we, and I mean that collectively from the city to the other various organizations, are really working pretty hard on trying to find things to replace Chautauqua throughout the summer. And it just takes time. I mean, because some people will come in and try it and decide whether they're going to look at doing it or not. But, I think within the next couple of years, you're going to see that city park being pretty well utilized from May through October with a variety of different events. I mean, and then before I forget it, tomorrow or at the Children's Arts Festival, the firemen are going to be there with their famous or infamous Fireburgers.
All right.
And it's the first time. Yeah, it's the first time they've been out doing anything since the COVID thing too. Of course, that's not only a fundraiser for the fire department, but it also is a great burger if you want a great burger.
It is. It is.
Other than that, we tasted Chihuahua. The date's been announced. It's going to be September 29th this year. That's, of course, the Arts Guild sponsors that. And we're looking forward to that because that's another thing that's coming back from the COVID era. And there'll be more information coming on that. But if you want to pencil it into your calendar, it's going to be on September 29th. And then the chamber auction's coming up. They're working, behind the scenes on that. And I should have a date and the variety of information on that. My guess is probably around the 1st of August, somewhere in that neighborhood. I know they've secured the Civic Center to be able to do that. So that's always a good time, and all goes to a good cause. And I think, as you pointed out a week ago, the dinner is a really nice dinner, and the people that cater that dinner, a lot of those proceeds flow back into the chamber, so the chamber can go continue on doing a variety of different things. The going on to the creative district, the first Thursday art walk was last Thursday, and Scott, it's too bad you're not here. I mean, the town was literally packed from Mountain Market to Safeway.
Wow.
It was unreal. I mean, it's really taken kind of a life on of its own. There were, I think, five galleries featured. There'll be a 6th one coming on in September, and they basically will start over by where Tim used to be, and then kind of wrap that corner and head east on Main, all the way to Mountain Market. So
wow. Chihuahua's got such a beautiful, years ago, and I grew up in Chihuahua, and when I was a kid, downtown was not a pretty place.
Mm-hmm.
And it has transformed over the years, and we have a gorgeous downtown, and it's perfect for the art walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think one of the things that's going to continue happening is Fire to Pizza had live music.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you're going to see a little bit more of that show up at a variety of venues as you go, for the first Thursday art walk when that goes through. And what we're discovering, at least at the creative district side, because we have like a sign in when people come in at the Spotlight Gallery. So then all we really want is their name and the zip code so we can kind of track where they're coming from. And we're seeing a fair number of people coming up from Spokane. And Tim will say that too. He said the vast majority of the people that come up to Trails End Gallery for these are coming out of Spokane.
That's a good sign.
So it's good.
Yeah. And I actually, I've got a relative that was here for a different event last week for the family. And I think they're going to buy a house here. They're going to move over from the west side because they fell in love with the art walk. So, things are really going on. I mean, give you an idea, just here at the golf course, we have 26 homes currently being built in one stage or another, and another 18 in the works. And that's never happened here. Even back in the heyday when they started, it wasn't that kind of activity. So, and by the way, that's the next 2 to 4 years worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
making all the contractors happy.
Yeah. And I'm not going to steal Greg's thunder, but Retail Strategies recommendations came back, and I'm going to, a lot of what we're going to talk about is a little bit of his impressions on that. And I've got the document, and it's 141 pages long. So, it's that we're going the right direction. I'll let him take it from there. With the creative district, we received the capital grant from the state of Washington, which the creative district is going to do some murals, some signage, some upgrades, and we've secured one of the murals. It's going to be on the Aaron Huff Cultural Center, and it's going to be Tracy Manley's doing the mural. And actually, we're really excited about it. The mural. Once I get the contract back from Tracy, then we'll start publishing pictures of what it's going to look like and stuff like that, because that's all protected, and as far as distribution.
And she's a fantastic artist. I've got to see some of her work before. She did some book covers for a friend of mine and stuff. Fabulous artist. So very cool.
Fabulous artist. And she actually, for those people listening, she did the huckleberries that are on the Tuela Insurance Building, right off of Park, right there going out on West Main. And this mural is going to be 8 feet wide and I believe 9 or 10 feet tall. It's going to be a good sized mural, and we really, really love it. So the other mural is going to be on the Westoff building, WEI building, and that one, the RFPs are going to go out probably in the next 3 weeks. So we can get some response, and we got 2 or 3 different themes. The artists will be doing renderings for, and then we'll do like last time. We'll pull them together, and then we'll get some public input. We'll invite some people from the public, and then of course the building owners and the city, and then there'll be a jury type show. So
nice.
To figure out which one to do. The a couple things in the hopper, I guess. I didn't even know what this was, but plein air festival. So this is my test. Do either of you know what a plein air is?
It has to do with art.
Good guess. Plein air is where you pick a day and artists come out and paint for the day, and they pick various locations, and then the next day they bring all their art in, and it's kind of juried, that type of thing. So it's an outdoor activity, and we should get that. Hopefully, I'll get that finalized here within 2 weeks. And I have to give Tim Nielsen credit for this. I was talking to him one day, and he says, why don't we do a plein air festival at the golf course and call it Art on the Green? So that was an idea planted about a year ago, actually. And I think it's going to come to fruition if we can get the dates lined up sometime in September. And then another one, an idea was sent to me that we're going to run with for the park. It's called Art in the Trunk. And I've actually seen these in some of my travels. This is where artists literally show up in their cars and they park in a park, and then they open their trunks and they basically have their art displayed in the trunk of the car. And so we're going to be looking at trying to get that in play. And then we had our board meeting last night, and I mean, there's just lots of things going on. And probably the best way to get any information is either follow the Facebook page for the Creative District or go onto the website. And it's tuelacreativedistrict.org to get onto the website, because that website is pretty aggressively being updated as much as volunteers can update it. And you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's see. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, the golf course. If you haven't been up, Michelle, if you haven't been up and enjoyed a beverage or something to eat at the patio, it's a really, really good experience. It's open. Patio's open now from 7 in the morning until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, because I say it follows the sun.
Oh.
It's they're really busy. I mean, we get a lot of people that just come up to relax, that type of thing. And of course, it's got all new furniture. It's got high top tables, low top tables, tables of seat 6. There's a lounging area that is kind of cushions and love seats, and there are all new umbrellas that have LED lighting. So once the sun goes down a little bit, they're all lit up as far as the inside goes. And not mention, the Rusty Putter is doing a phenomenal job as far as the meals, the food offerings, and the beverages. The hardest part, and all the restaurants have this problem right now, is sometimes from week to week, you don't know what you're going to get from the supplier.
Right.
And which is frustrating, because, the other day I was in there and I ordered some chicken wings to go, and probably the best chicken wings I've ever had in my life, by the way. And it was so funny because Sean goes, "Well, I can't give you 12, Mike. I only got 11 left."
Wow.
The truck came in and they were missing.
Oh, no. They must be in high demand.
They said that a lot of times, actually, because they all order online, and it'll say the inventory is there, and for whatever reason, when it shows up, it was back ordered, it was zeroed out, that type of thing. So bear with them a little bit, but they're doing a really good job.
Well, and restaurant industry's been hit hard with supply chain problems and then employee problems, having enough employees. I've seen a lot of restaurants even here where they've cut back their hours and stuff because they just don't have the staff.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. And we've been fortunate enough to keep pretty good level of staff, but not where you'd like it. In our case at the Rusty Putter, it's even more of a challenge because the hours are still extended out, and you need at least 2 people there because you need a cook and you need a wait staff type person. And if you only have 2 people there, that wait staff person has to also have their serving license for alcohol, and so. And you can't use people under a certain age to do that, of course. And so you've got to be, it really restricts it from that standpoint. But Sean and Brittany have done a good job of attracting people to replace. And this is a typical thing. We had 2 cooks give notice. And you always say, I asked where'd they go? Well, neither of them stayed in the restaurant business. One of them went out on the coast for a job where he used to work, and actually the other one, the same thing. FedEx called him out of the blue and said, "Hey, how would you like to come back to work for us?" So, and you really can't compete with a corporation like that as far as compensation and benefits and things like that. So, and not keep the prices, to where people can afford them. And the golf course is in premier shape. We had the biggest tournament of the year this last weekend. And went over extremely well. We had we had 196 golfers signed up, and we ended up with 212 on the course. That's a lot of people on the course, and you just imagine the logistics of getting that to move all day. Oh. And so Jason and the crew did a phenomenal job on that. And we'll have the same issue coming up here in a couple of weeks with the women's or ladies invitational. We do that every year. It's out of Spokane. We're one of their preferred courses that they do that particular thing. And I'll beat this drum until I'm no longer on the radio. The 9-hole course is family friendly. Okay. And you don't have to have tea time. You can just show up. And the only time it's restricted is Friday afternoons because there's a function that goes every Friday afternoon. But other than that, kids golf for free as long as they have a supervising paying adult. And if they don't have clubs, no problem. The men's club does fundraising every year. And so there's all kinds of sets of clubs, left hand, right hand, different sizes for different sizes of kids that we provide without a fee. It's one of those, family friendly things that, you keep beating the drum and everybody else that are out there. And then I also want to point out, I think I sent it to you guys, the bowling alley is open.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not a bowler, but I guess summertime was they weren't open a whole lot during the summertime.
Yeah.
And now they are. I know last week they were even having a ice cream social there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no place in Chihuahua right now where you can get an ice cream cone. Do you know that, Michelle?
Zip's got their ice cream machine down or something?
No, there's just no. Well, as far as a scoop type cone.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you used to be able to at the casino, but their ice cream machine is broken, or their.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
okay.
you can't even get it out there.
Well, the bowling alley serves ice cream, I believe, on Sundays. So if you want a day in the park and you want some ice cream, you can take your kids over and get an ice cream cone.
An ice cream shortage in Chihuahua.
Just in time for summer.
Well, there was a couple years there we had the pawn shop / ice cream store, which was kind of odd, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was actually there even after the heating and air conditioning people moved in for a while, kind of in the back corner of that building.
Yeah.
Where the pawn shop used to be, Radio Shack used to be. There used to always be an ice cream place in the back corner there, but nobody knew about it.
All right. Well, good job, Mike. Is that all your goodies for today?
I think that's pretty much it. It's like everything. About 2/3 through the show, something else will pop in.
All right. Well, we're just about 5 minutes away from going to break, and then we're going to come back with Mayor Greg McCunn, and he's got some great stuff to share with us about Chihuahua. Let's see, logging on this morning on Facebook. Wow, we got a lot of people. We've got Christopher logged in from Arizona, checking out the show this morning. We had Rob. It looks like he's in Arkansas. Marion in Chihuahua. Oh, she's very loyal. Thank you, Marion. And then Ron, who's hanging out with friends in Singapore. So I thought, since we have like some, people oceans away, tuning in this morning, I would do something from Bits and Breaks called "What is an American?"
Okay.
It's not good. If you were hoping it was good, it's not good. All right. So what is an American? First, we yell for the government to balance the budget. Then we take the last dime we have and make a down payment on a car. You're a money guy.
Well,
You know about this.
I read the other day that the average car payment now is north of $1,000 for a pickup, and north of $800 for a car.
Wow. All right. Americans yell for speed laws that'll stop fast driving, then won't buy a car if it can't go over 100. It's true. All right. Americans get scared to death if we vote $1 billion for education, then are unconcerned when we find out we're spending $3 billion a year for cigarettes. We work hard on a farm so we can move into town where we can make more money so we can move back to the farm.
Yeah, well, that exodus is happening now.
Yeah. In the office, we talk about baseball, shopping, or fishing, but when we're out at a ball game or the mall, or the lake, we talk about business. We're the country that has more food to eat than any other country in the world and more diets to keep us from eating it. And then the last one, this is true. We have more experts on marriage than any other country in the world, but we still have more divorces than anyone else. Overthink, and then I should probably do that. Wah, 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 wah.
The training is working.
All right, a few more minutes. Let's go ahead and test two very smart people that are in the room. It's Mike Bentz and Michelle Williams with trivia.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
All right. Just under 10% of men perform this grooming task. Mike, you might want to do this. Especially, us older guys. We have a problem with this grooming task.
Well, it's either ear or nose hair.
No.
Oh.
No, but you're in the area. Michelle?
Oh, in the area, huh?
Yeah.
Less than 10%?
Just under 10% of men perform this grooming task. And it's not your nose or ears.
Training your eyebrows?
Yes. Us old guys, we get the wild eyebrows, like the Einstein eyebrow.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
True.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it happens.
the lady that cuts my hair trims my eyebrows.
Yes.
Really?
I'm so glad that you said
Because
that.
I got a couple of wild ones that look like horns.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that because I've been like forever after my husband's eyebrows for like the last year. And he's like, no, get away from me. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to
Well,
get
I've got two daughters, and they'll always, Dad, trim your eyebrows. Come on. I wonder why you can't get a date, Dad.
That's right. You're competing with eyelashes.
That's right. All right. There are an estimated 84,000 of these in the U.S. and just 15,000 in Canada.
84,000 and only 15 in Canada?
Yeah. What can I give you for
game wardens.
No, these are structures.
Oh.
Structures. 84,000 in the U.S. Structures. 15,000 in Canada.
Truck
Skyscrapers?
stops?
No, they have to do with water.
Canals?
No, sir.
Has to do with water.
Bridges?
Marinas?
What'd you say, Michelle?
Bridges?
No. That's a good guess, though.
Marinas?
Nope. Still has to do with water.
Water treatment plants?
Think bigger. Bigger.
Oh. Bigger.
Dams.
Dams. There you go, Michelle. Dams. That's right.
Okay.
84,000 dams in the United States and just 15,000 in Canada. Wow.
Huh.
All right. Before this company settled on its current name, the name Falcon, Bengal, and Dimension 6 were all considered. What's the name of the company?
Falcon? What was the second one?
Bengal and Dimension 6, which have nothing to do what this product is and where it goes, how it's used. Even their current name makes no sense when you think of the
It's
product.
a product. I thought you said country.
Before this company settled on its current
company.
name, The names Falcon, Bengal, and Dimension 6 were all considered.
Is it a food?
This is a product you usually have to throw away after 6 months. Starts to smell funny.
And I'm drawing a blank.
All right, looking for shoes and Nike. Nike.
Okay.
Choices were Falcon, Bengal, and Dimension 6. That's kind of bad.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if I can find something to trip you up even more. Okay? How about a brain teaser? This one's easy. You guys should get this. You can both just shout it out. What has an eye but cannot see and leaves destruction in its path?
A tornado.
Hurricane.
Oh, he's so fast, Michelle. Oh, he doesn't even give her a chance. All right, 1 in 5 office workers have one of these on their desk.
Stapler.
In their desk. Sorry.
Oh. In their desk?
Yes. And it's hygiene.
Oh, toothbrush.
Wow. Look at you go, Mike. 3% of adults who... Now, you spent most of your life working behind a desk. Did you keep a toothbrush in your desk?
Yeah, I did, actually.
3% of adults who do this say they often eat when they do it. That's a very low number, so think about that. 3% of adults who do this say they often eat when they do it. This is something you do at home.
Oh, okay. I was going to say go to the bathroom.
Eat while going to the bathroom. Well, I don't know.
That would hopefully be a low number.
That could be really efficient if you think about it.
That's true. You do this at home, only 3%.
Adults say they do this when they eat.
Well, they do it when they eat.
Well, they often eat when they do it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Not watch TV.
I've heard of drinking wine, but not this.
Take a bath.
Not this.
Taking a bath, Michelle. There you go.
Really? I
3%
wouldn't.
of adults eat while they're taking a bath.
You said wine, and I was like, oh, yeah, bathtub.
I'm picturing Mike right now dropping one of those chicken wings in the bathtub and picking it back up and eating it anyway.
Was a baby Ruth being dropped in the...
Oh!
Dum, 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 dum,
Dum, dum, dum. And that's when you say, hey, Loretta, I forgot to drain the bathwater. Will you do it?
Why do I hang out with you guys?
Well, lowbrow humor is supposed to be on Thursday.
I
Yeah,
know,
all right.
right?
We'll try and hold back. All right, what's significant about the book Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies by Douglas Hofstadter? This book was a first.
Fluid concept and vision. What's unique about it?
Yeah. And your hint is it was a first book to ever...
Be audio?
No. Good guess, though.
That was a good
You're keep going in that direction.
Be sold online?
Video?
I'm going to give that to Michelle. It was the first book ever sold on Amazon.
Oh.
Really?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Well,
online.
Those are
online.
both hot titles.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, what?
Probably didn't say it was a good seller, just that it was for sale.
Yeah. Well, Michelle's a college graduate. She probably read both of them.
Yeah.
Well, what was it about?
Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies.
Oh, okay.
All right. Sounds technical, but I think it's really brain work.
I think so.
All right. Speaking of brain work, how about a brain teaser?
Okay.
It doesn't breathe. It has no feeling. It cannot hear, nor can it speak. But when you look at it, it seems to know what you do, always mimicking and staring back at you. What is it?
Your reflection.
Good job, Michelle. 10,000 points.
Ooh.
Did you have a clue there, Mike? Because she just
No.
went right in with
I
that.
was thinking like an amoeba.
All right, there you go. A few trivia games. I'm guessing our mayor is probably, I can't see Michelle
He's
Ken. I
here.
bet she's
Yeah,
hanging
he's here.
to get in. So we're going to go ahead and go to break. We will come back with Mayor Gregory McCunn. Stand by. It's KCHW 102.7 Northern Lights Public Radio. Are we on mute, Michelle?
Greg, can you hear us? It'll be about 4 or 5 minutes.
All right. I didn't hear the answer to being on mute.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
We are mute. All right. So with our new system, with me being off in Maine, anything we say, just so you know, while she's got us muted, it's not going over the radio in Chihuahua, but it is feeding through YouTube and Facebook, our speech right now, just so you know that. And we just wanted to do that for a couple minutes, and then we'll flip it back to the news and just let you know we got you and make sure we could hear you. So
Sounds good.
Good. All right, so it'll be about 5 minutes now, like Mike said, and you'll hear it, the news going, and then our theme music will bring us back in.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Scott. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too, and it sounds like we got good levels. So, Michelle, you can go ahead and take us off mute and send the news through to Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, okay. Trying to get this going here on there.
Yeah, do the best you can with the screen there.
Okay.
At the Auto Service Center at 806 East Main in Chihuahua. Find them online at godfearingbrothers.com or by phone at 509-935-6414. KCHW FM thanks God-Fearing Brothers for supporting public radio in Stevens County.
The Public News Service Daily Newscast, July the 13th, 2022. I'm Mike Clifford. The U.S. Department of Justice wants to block an Arizona law that requires what a lawsuit calls onerous documentary proof of citizenship in order to register to vote.
Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark claims in the suit that Arizona's bill violates the National Voter Registration Act and would prevent some eligible voters from getting onto the voter rolls for certain federal elections. Alex Gulata, with the Arizona chapter of All Voting is Local, says regardless of the court's decision, it won't affect voters this year and wouldn't go into effect until the 2023 and 2024 elections.
That bill has a new documented proof of residence requirement that basically means that folks that don't have an Arizona state-issued ID, that's snowbirds, students, lots of low-income people, are going to have a more difficult time registering to vote in the future.
Proponents of the law say it would make elections more secure, but the DOJ complaint suggests it would pose an undue barrier, and that the current laws already verify that only citizens residing in Arizona vote in Arizona. I'm Emily Bolke reporting.
The proposal would also require election outreach to Native American tribes, ensure assistance for voters with disabilities, and reduce campaign contribution limits. The Tennessee trigger ban on abortion slated to go into effect next month, some experts say. The Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade could pave the way for more women to be prosecuted for conduct during pregnancy.
University of Tennessee law professor Wendy Bach explains state judges have previously used a so-called fetal assault law to jail a pregnant person on probation if a court has evidence that they're using drugs. Bach predicts the SCOTUS decision opens the doors to state legislatures passing more laws that punish pregnant people instead of providing help and treatment.
There's a woman who is charged for criminal conduct for falling down a flight of stairs. So the range of conduct that we are talking about that prosecutors have decided to charge is significant.
Bach adds the fetal assault statute was not renewed by the legislature in 2016 and is no longer law. However, she says Tennessee prosecuted and jailed about 120 women between 2014 and 2016 for potentially harming the fetuses they carried by taking narcotics. Nadia Ramlagan reporting.
And from CNN, the revelation that the House January 6th committee notified the Department of Justice of an alleged attempt by former President Trump to contact a witness is the latest product of the panel's probe to involve law enforcement. CNN reports that detail presented by the vice chairwoman, Liz Cheney, was perhaps the most unexpected moment of the hearing on Tuesday. This is PNS. There is new work being done in Ohio now to help free people caught in the complex web of domestic violence, addiction, and mental health.
Cheryl Stahl is heading up the Ohio Domestic Violence Network's new Substance Use Mental Health Project. She explains most survivors who seek services are facing multiple traumas and concerns.
You're working with women who, say from childhood, have had sexual abuse experiences and then date people who are abusive. Those people perhaps are using drugs. They get introduced to drugs. They may have mental health concerns that are being masked by the trauma.
Research indicates between 47 and 90% of women who seek substance use disorder treatment say they've experienced domestic violence. Mary Sherman reporting.
And the busy season of U.S. Supreme Court decisions has come to an end. Among the policies justices struck down is the federal government's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. Eric Tegetthoff gives us a perspective for Idaho.
Justices ruled the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency needs approval from Congress to address something big and new like climate change, reversing the agency's attempt to regulate coal-fired power plants. The decision places more responsibility on states to govern carbon emissions. Marie Kellner from the Idaho Conservation League says her group is disappointed with the decision, but notes it may not affect Idaho's trajectory much.
Here in Idaho, we're moving in the right direction, and I actually don't have a lot of concern that this opinion is going to change or reverse that direction because the market's already making it happen. We're moving in that way.
Idaho Power, which serves 600,000 customers across southern Idaho and eastern Oregon, has already committed to providing 100% clean energy by 2045. Avista, which has 400,000 electric customers in the Northwest, similarly plans to provide 100% clean power by 2045.
Despite that ruling, the Biden administration says that it's still intending to cut fossil fuel emissions completely from the electricity sector by the year 2035. Finally, Suzanne Potter tells us a new ballot measure to support arts education will go before California voters come November.
The measure does not provide new money, but rather directs districts to prioritize existing funds. Richard DeHaven is with Children's Playtime Productions in Palm Desert, which has offered in-school and after-school children's theater programs for 27 years.
Just as much as math teaches them 2 plus 2 and how to get along in life and how to balance their checkbooks, the arts teach them how to have empathy, how to be better people, how to have confidence and interact. Confidence is a huge one.
Opponents favor a focus on reading, writing, and math and say the measure would limit school districts' flexibility.
This is Mike Clifford for Public News Service, member and listener supported, heard on great radio stations, your favorite podcast platform, and find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
And we're back. It's KCHW 102.7, looking at 8:15 right now. A special guest today, the return of our mayor, Mr. Greg McCunn. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be back on.
Thank you very much for being here again. Big round of applause for you and all the hard work you do. All right, you're looking good in the mayor's office, yes?
Yeah, look at that. He looks pretty distinguished, doesn't he?
Does. He's wearing a jacket and everything.
That is the first distinguished.
Yeah. Well, the one observation I see is hair's definitely getting grayer since he became mayor.
Ooh.
True, that's true. He's got me there, no doubt.
I actually put on a shirt for you today, Greg, instead of my usual T-shirt.
Thank you so much, Scott. You look good yourself. You're looking fresh and just ready for life. So you're right.
It is.
Yeah, but keep in mind it's like 10:30 or 11 o'clock.
Right.
Yes.
You got an edge on us, right?
Yeah. That was the whole reason I moved, so I wouldn't have to get up at 5 anymore to get ready for the show. It's a lot easier to get up and start at 7, 8 o'clock and go, yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it, and I guess just start off. Mike kind of shot me some stuff, some ideas and stuff. But one of his first ones I liked, and I'll just see what you come up with, was anything new and exciting in the city of Chewelah.
New and exciting in Chewelah. That is a big bucket. I think one of the things I notice, and I hope others do too, as I talk to different citizens, you can really feel this kind of increasing energy, I think, of new life, of growth, and confidence really in this kind of change that's happening in our environment. I mean, I was driving down the road the other day and on Maine, and as I drove up the street, it was packed with cars. But what kind of struck me was like there's 3 or 4 cars, two parked with kayaks, one has 6 mountain bikes on top of it. It really started to, at least that day, really represent kind of that quintessential classic mountain town that we are. And I think all of the wonderful opportunities we offer Stevens County and beyond. So anyway, I think a lot of good things are going on just from an energy standpoint. I kind of thought about it in terms of different buckets that really matter to the city, and one of which is housing. I'm working with my team to kind of keep a barometer on not only the permits coming in, but actually the developers that are showing interest so that the city can engage, help troubleshoot, eliminate barriers so that we can solve for, a real glut in housing inventory right now. So right now we've got a few different things going on. I think we've got over 20 projects going on up at the golf course currently. And by going on, I mean either actively building or in that, let's call it the 2022 line of waiting for your contractor. There are currently 13 active builds down in the lower city area. And then there's going to be what you'd call a low to mid priced 22 home development at the end of Lincoln and Alpine Way, which is really exciting. And this will be more of 22 different homes that are manufactured homes. Particular manufactured home developer was interested in that spot, saw Chewelah as an opportunity, and so is making that investment. And then last, I believe we have 4 duplexes slated through 2022, and that could turn into 5. So we're seeing a lot of activity. I think the rate and pace of that is somewhat self-limited by the current supply chain issues in the industry, but a lot of people are noticing Chewelah. As I've said before on this show, that's a double-edged sword. We want that growth. We want to steward prosperity, but we also want to preserve our identity and our brand as Chewealians. And so as mayor, if you were to ask me what's the number one thing on your mind is how you steward that balance. It's not easy. There's no simple solutions, but I'm really excited by the energy from the community to come together as one community and tackle that challenge. So.
Are these records, this amount of building going on, Chewelah? Because I know Mike said it was like a record up at the golf course, but down in Chewelah South, Lower Chewelah, whatever you want to call it, it seems like a record too. I can't remember ever seeing that much building going on in Chewelah.
No, I don't have a hard fact line to look back historically to measure it against, but I think we're safe to say it is setting records, and I think that's going to increase. There's real need and obviously real demand that needs to be filled. So the housing sector is one that's getting some attention. So the other exciting news is that if you were tuned into City Council last week, or the last 2 months, excuse me, we have been doing a lot of work to create a new position in City Hall. And the council approved the operational support technician role for City Hall. One of the things I learned here is that, there's way more needs than there are staff in any city government. And obviously the budget is limited. So what you end up doing is you take someone with a distinct job description who's hired with those skills to fulfill that description. And then about 5 years in, they've got about 8 other jobs. Just because, things pop up, there are needs that have to be met. And so you start wearing a lot of different hats. So worked very closely with the council and city administration to look and do a needs assessment of could we create a single role that would help offload the key deliverables for the city, say grant writing, say code enforcement, both of which in many cities are a single full-time employment job, and create a single role that's more of that hybrid, and that's the operational support tech role. And overall, the intent is to increase operational execution for the city across different sectors. So for instance, we have a robust volunteer fire department, which everybody knows and loves. Well, they have never had administrative support, and now they do. So their ability to execute is going to improve. Their ability to pursue grants is going to improve, and that's going to exist across each department. So we're super excited. And the best news of all, which brings me to my third exciting point, is that Pam McCart, our current city clerk treasurer, is accepted that position as our operational support tech role. As many of you know, Pam has served our city for a faithful 25 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah, she is a huge asset and a right arm to this city. I certainly depend on her greatly. And, you know, as you go through life, career development is important. And 25 years of doing clerk treasurer role, you know, it was time for her to take on some new challenges, and her skill set precisely fits the need with her experience. That does create an opening, which is being posted this week. You should see it in the Independent. We're going to be reaching out to Association of Washington Cities for a vacant treasurer clerk role for the city of Chihuahua.
All right.
So that's pretty exciting. I can go on.
I'm sure it's exciting for Pam too, when you've been doing the same job to 25, to have a new challenge in front of you. That's very cool.
For sure, for sure. There's lots of opportunity. We've got a lot of talent in our city government. The city's really blessed. The amount of faithfulness and dedication I see across departments is really inspiring. So.
All right. Now, I know Mike's brushed this topic before with me, and I think you talked about it last time you were on the radio with us, and that is the Retail Strategies program.
Yeah.
Okay.
So business economic development was top of mind for everyone during the campaign, as I've stated on previous shows. And so one of the things we realized is that we needed to look at outside talent that could help us define, you know, what is our brand? How do you measurably define that? Not just kind of talk about it, but actually put metrics behind it. And so Retail Strategies is a company that works only with rural cities across America to help them do things like just the things we're talking about. How do you steward, you know, a season of prosperity without getting run over? How do you develop codes that create the future that you want? So as that growth occurs, there's kind of some banks of a river, if you will, that control that flow. And Retail Strategies came in, City Council and Chamber of Commerce partnered to pay $25,000 to have them do a 5-year analysis and plan for our city. What's circulating right now, and anybody can have access to, is the draft 5-year plan, and the 2-hour and 15-minute stakeholder review session that we sat through last week. I was really fortunate to have a lot of city leaders come in, dedicate that amount of time out of their busy schedules to look at the first draft of the plan, provide feedback, and Retail Strategies is now incorporating that feedback. And we will plan a public event, likely at the Civic Center, where we'll roll that 5-year plan out to the public. So,
you know, Greg, when I read through the draft real quick, because it's 141 pages.
141 pages, yeah. You're a speed reader then. Okay.
And the first thing that came out to me is, man, I'm going to have to hit the city up for a hard copy. But anyway, my printer would wear out by the time they got it all printed.
Yeah, yeah.
But there were some common themes in there that popped out at me that I thought were really, really positive. And one of them was the trade area, for lack of a better term. They basically took it south to Clayton, over to Lake Roosevelt, up to Kettle Falls, kind of across Highway Tunney, and then a straight line down the Selkirk Mountains.
Yep.
There were 34,000 people in that area, but the average age had dropped dramatically from the prior report I saw, that who knows when it was done, from the mid-50s to the mid-40s. And that really jumped out at me, Scott. I think it was the average was 44 and 46 for male and female.
Wow.
And to me, that's a super healthy sign, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and then as I'm kind of just going through it, you know, some of the stuff was, you know, like the number of people with higher degrees and things like that really was pretty static. But the other thing really pointed out the affordable housing issue, because the average home was in there $16,000.
Wow.
And that prices so many people out of the marketplace, especially for a starter home, which I'm glad to hear that, you know, that's one of the initiatives, is to work with developers to have affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a big document. And then the other thing, once you get past the analysis and stuff, they come up with boxes of recommendations So it built a track record. It wasn't this, okay, here's all this data and pulled all this stuff together, go for it. They actually have boxes of recommendations. So my question to you is, this is like a huge elephant. How do you start eating it?
Yeah, great question. Great question. As most planning documents are, they're thorough, but that means they're also long and hard to digest. One of the things, and I've just been entirely impressed with the entire corporate presence of Retail Strategies. They're really expert in what they do. At the rollout, there will be an executive summary. And that's a critical document. It's kind of a white paper summary of the entire document so that you can peruse that document, which say that's, anywhere from 5 to 10 pages. You can get an overall sense of the analytics, the recommendations across the different time horizons, because it sets short-term, kind of freebies that you can execute early on, all the way up to 5-year kind of higher cost, long-term, but higher impact goals. And so you'll be able to digest that pretty easily and get a feel for it. And then I think you can reference the larger document for areas of particular interest, which, from a operational standpoint, getting the right people plugged in the right areas so that we can move to execution is really critical. And I guess that's one of my plugs. And for all those who are listening, who are residents or call Chewelah home, we have a lot of planning documents, and usually a planning document leads to a grant application and we wait. And that's typical of most municipalities. What I believe people will see as they put their hands on the data that's provided to help us understand the opportunities and the recommendations is that we've got a real execution opportunity with Retail Strategies. When you look at these types of services and cost them out, to get this type of analysis, to pay $25,000 for this one is a real bargain, especially for the quality. They offer additional services, many of which I'm interested in as mayor for our city, but one particularly is that we can contract with them for 1 year. Say we could sign that contract post approval with City Council, and do it similarly with a partnership between the city and the chamber. And then they would actually walk with us through execution of the plan. And most of the stakeholders I talk with that have become involved in different committees serving the planning effort across different sectors that's kind of where we need to kind of sharpen the sword a little bit. And I know that everybody's eager to see results of the investment and the time spent in the planning phase. So I'm a real proponent of that 1 year agreement, and we're going to be working with different stakeholders to garner support to see that through, because I think having an outside party kind of help you stay accountable to a timeline and a rhythm and deliverables would be a real help, and I think we'd all see a lot of great results from it. So if I could, Mike, I completely agree with your highlights. One of the other ones, and perhaps one I'm most excited about from the beginning with Retail Strategies, is starts with Dollar General. Actually, it's kind of a phenomenon. I think it kind of spooked a lot of us because all of a sudden Dollar General was buying land in Chewelah and building a national chain identified Chewelah, and it does raise the question of why Chewelah, and we didn't have an answer to that. Well, if you get through the first few pages of this document, you're going to find out why. What we haven't had, but what every single franchise in America does have, is robust data sources of what the various needs are in different communities across America. So there's different categories of need, like you have general merchandise needs, and you can meet some of those in Chewelah, but a lot of those you might go to Spokane, you might go up to Colville. We have a grocery store, so maybe people go to Deer Park or Colville or maybe Spokane again. And there's all these different segments where people are trafficking through and would do it in Chewelah, but they're going elsewhere. And so when you define out each of those segments, it starts for franchises to define what is the business opportunity that exists in rural American towns like Chewelah. So just for an example, what they do is they do this geo tracking, and it's cell phone data. And I know Some people, it makes them a little uneasy. It's anytime your cell phone activates a cell phone a tower, it creates a little ping. And that data is gathered and collected so you can really measure traffic patterns across any particular geographic area. And they drew the circle that you well defined for that 34,000 people and said, what are their behaviors if they go to Safeway? So if you could follow that cell phone from wherever they live, outside, inside Chewelah, to Safeway, and where they went next, helps define where else they're going to get services that could be offered in Chewelah. So let's just go back to Dollar General. That is a general merchandise store. This is precisely how Dollar General, and wherever their boardroom is, makes decisions. In that category alone, if you dollarize the money being spent through those traffic patterns, there's a $79 million opportunity centered around Chewelah.
Wow.
So we call that an opportunity gap, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big one.
Yes.
For grocery stores, a lot of people have thought it'd be kind of nice to have other grocery store options here. And that's a $58 million opportunity. I'm looking at the list here. Health and personal care stores, $20 million opportunity. Full service restaurants, $12 million opportunity. So let's move that from the perspective of some national franchise who thinks Chewelah might be a great business opportunity to why it matters to us.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that, and the reason I was such a champion for retail strategy is, I mean, the cornerstone of that for me was the data, because it empowers us as a city to start to sit down and have an educated and informed conversation about what the real business opportunity is. Then as a city government, we position ourselves to be business friendly. And then we actually go to those target areas of the types of businesses we want. And I want to go sell Chewelah.
I got a question, Greg. Do you see, and I'm going to use OMAC, Washington, as an example. Now, this happened, gosh, I'm old, 20, 25 years ago. Do you see these franchises like Dollar General? I mean, we've got a great mom and pop thing going on. We really push the shop local.
Yep.
A lot of the people that are here have their heart and souls and their families into the businesses that support Chewelah. Do you see a problem with these chain or franchisee stores coming in? Because what I saw in OMAC 25 years ago was, and I know Chewelah was looked at for a Walmart, and then they took it to Colville, and it didn't really seem to hurt Colville's downtown core when Walmart moved in there, and maybe it's because their population base was big enough. But what I saw happen in OMAC as Walmart came in, it decimated their downtown corridor, and today OMAC's downtown corridor is a ghost town.
Yeah.
Do we? I mean, can we insulate? I mean, looking at the strategy, do you see a potential problem there? Okay, and how? And that's what this is.
Problem, I'd say a potential risk, maybe. And I would just maybe correct one thing. Neither of us are operating with data to say these things, but my perspective of the impact of Walmart in Colville was if we had the data and you were to follow the economic vitality of what they consider their downtown core, I would bet dollars to donuts that growth curve goes something like this. So I think there was a negative impact to the opening of Walmart to the Colville downtown core. I think Colville actually gets a lot of credit for their resilience to come together as a community and really bolster the strength of that downtown core and thus the other side of that curve. Because having a franchise such as Walmart, and that's always the buzzword, I think it's kind of the extreme, right? That's the big behemoth. We have many examples across America where small towns have been hit with a Walmart and it has a real negative effect. Back to my earlier point, why we paid the money we did for retail strategies is it's the best I believe we've got to get in a position to be strong ahead of anything like that. And should something like that happen, which I'm not in favor of it, and I don't think it will, to better weather changes like that. Back to equipping the city to start to determine our own future. I ended with, I'd really like to get into a position to sell Chewelah. That's part of the conversation. Why can't we as a city start to fill these niches, these empty buckets ourselves?
Yeah.
Why can't we be the ones championing that? Now, future conversations and council and others might tire of me saying, hey, well, we could hire Retail Strategies to do it, because we can. Retail Strategies now intimately knows Chihuahua. They call us, I love this, and I think we should have a t-shirt that says Chihuahua, and this is their quote underneath it. Chihuahua is physically and geographically rich.
Nice.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
But one of the services they offer, and it does come at a cost, but all of these you can kind of think in a $20,000 increment, is that they go to the national franchise conferences, and for those cities that contract with them, actually promote those cities to franchises that rural town desires. So there's one thing if, Mike and I and Michelle come together around the data that we've got, and we go to, Huckleberry's, and we say, hey, Chihuahua is a great place to do business. I mean, I want to do that. I want to really try that.
Yes, please do. I love Huckleberry's. I would love to have a Huckleberry's over here. Yeah, let's do that.
But it's a different thing if seasoned professionals who know the franchises, work with the franchises, do that on our behalf. So something to consider in the future. But it's a great subject. People ask me, what's the number one thing on your mind as mayor since you've been mayor? It was the number one thing on my mind during the campaign. It had a big reason to do with why I ran for mayor, and it is still on my mind. There are no easy answers to this. There's no book. There's no quick fix. We're drawing from examples of what others have done, and then using the talent we've got to face the challenges we might face in the future.
Well, this is a 5-year plan. You know what that means, Greg, is that you're going to have to do a second term. Finish what you start.
I'm cresting 6 months. I'm getting used to a lot of things. Look,
I'm just telling you.
Keep me in my bubble for right now.
Okay.
Well, and you were talking about the data, and I remember on one of the initial meetings where Kevin Herta was there. Yeah. And they were doing the presentation on the access to the data and what we provided in that document. And I'm getting called here just a second. Oh.
He muted it.
While Mike's doing that, I will say, I'll tell you Mike's involvement, Cindy, the new president of the board of the golf course, Eric Bakken from 49, and many others are dedicating a lot of their time to come. And I mean, they literally sat for the draft overview for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, I don't like long meetings because I'm busy, but there's a level of excitement and dedication from, our city leaders, our business leaders to this program and what's being offered. And they're super excited about it. Our goal, kind of in terms of next steps would be to get the rest of the community on board and get them excited about it. We'd anticipate mid to late August, we'll have the final plan in hand along with the executive summary. What I'm working on doing is putting together a community event, whether at the Civic Center or at the park, just depending, where we can roll that out and we can have discussion and we can start to energize people around different segments of these recommendations. To really move towards execution. If we decide not to contract with Retail Strategies for that first year, though I would champion that we do, we're going to need to raise our hand and get involved. These things don't happen without a community that is fully engaged.
Yeah, it gets back to there's too many documents with dust collecting on the shelf already. And I guess getting back to my comment, one of the things that Kevin said, and I absolutely agree, the $25,000 is worth the data if you use the data. And one of the things I know with the Creative District is I forwarded that document to the board of the Creative District, and we had our board meeting last night, and the lady that's heading the marketing side of the Creative District, she's already looked at it and started coming with, okay, this is where we need to do our marketing here, just based on the preliminary review of this document.
Yeah.
And when you said it's going to be accessible, is it going to be accessible through the city website?
Yeah, we'll get it up there. It's, we're a little bit ahead of it just because we're sitting on a draft version right now. So I just assume put up the final rather than post a draft version. But, anybody, that's listening can talk to Mike. The chamber is going to be distributing the draft version. So if you're really eager to get your hands on the information ahead of, mid to late August, when the final's done, that's absolutely accessible, just reach
Yeah,
out.
because I know from an organizational standpoint, one of the struggles is we have very limited resources. So where do we get the most bang for the buck to make it grow the way we want it to grow?
Yeah.
And that document provides really a footprint of where you can take a look at it and say, okay, maybe we ought to look at this, or maybe we need this partnership there. And so Kim's going to start building that out through the committee for the marketing just to do that exact same thing. So like, I was talking about the phenomenal success of the first Thursday Art Walk last Thursday. And, how do you, and that's the second month in a row. So if that happens in the third month, then that's no longer a one-off. That's something where people see it. So how do you expand that out without losing the momentum of what you currently have? And one of the ways to do that is to market outside the area for a high quality event. And then from a data standpoint, I know when we originally did the application to the state for the certification of the district, Shelley Stevens worked her tail off trying to get the data, but it just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And trying to get the state to understand that we're not a larger city where they actually collect that data and process it themselves, was unreal. So they finally took anecdotal information that we were able to get them to get the certification. Now, when I apply for a grant, I can go right to this document and say, okay, the average age is this. This is the average income level. This is, that type of thing. And that's what these people want.
Yeah.
It's not a pie in the sky. So hats off to you for pursuing that. And I'm going to really encourage the public that once it's up on the website, take some time to get involved, know what's going on. Don't listen to the rumors and, all that good stuff. And they even say in the document, this town is really fairly engaged for the size of the town. Because I think they mentioned that normally when they do that public meeting like they did prior to the document being issued, they get maybe a handful of people to show up. And I think we had, 60 or 70 people in that room?
Yeah.
Kind of the same way that the new approaches went. We had a huge turnout. You had a huge turnout for that at the Civic Center. People are very engaged. And one thing I thought was interesting when you first started talking about this and you were giving out the numbers out of those, 34,000, and how it's dropped about 10 years for the average age. That's something we saw at the new approaches meeting too. And the people that were coming and signing the wall, and the amount of people that had moved to Chihuahua in the first 5 years, and most of them were couples under 40. It shows a change, I guess, in Chihuahua of the people that are moving here and the average age, I guess.
Yeah, and one perspective that gives me pause actually is that we see those shifts historically. Well, what are we going to see? I call it the COVID boost, right? Because all this remote work, many people saying, I'd like a more rural lifestyle. We still haven't even seen the impact of that yet.
Right.
We probably need 2-3 more years to understand it. And there's a lot of phenomenons that are already popping up already. I'd read at City Council and at the Chamber meeting last month, we looked at our last 5-year projections, say, for sales tax revenue coming into the city. Historically, if you look back, say, around 2015, 2017, there's a really clear pattern of 2% growth, 3% growth in sales tax. A big year might be 5. Then in 2019, we hit 5.6. Then in 2020, we hit 11.5% growth in sales tax.
That's huge.
Then 2021, 23% growth in sales tax.
Wow.
And the demographics are shifting.
Wow. Because nobody wanted to drive to Spokane.
But what we can't do at this stage, to my earlier point of more data to come, is we can't unpack how much of that is natural growth, because we're talking about numbers that precede COVID, right? That those shifts to age and everything else, all those demographics were changing prior. And then you start to see these kind of COVID 2019 to 2022 changes, which we still yet need to learn from, probably 2025 when we can count the cost or the overall impact.
Well, and a lot of things that I've noticed from, knowing a lot of the younger people in the community and stuff and living here for so long is that a lot of the younger people had moved away, pre-COVID, and
Yeah.
lived in the city, worked in the city, and then everything got crazy, and they're like, yeah, no, I'm going home. So then they're coming back. So they had left previous, and now they're returning. So
the other piece of the analysis, once you dig in, is, and I was so excited about this. We are an entrepreneurial town. We are resilient. I mean, we're the type of town that sits in a bar and says, "Hey, you know what? We ought to emphasize mountain biking. Let's go buy a mountain." Right? That's Gold Hill. They sat in the brewery and they said, "Hey, we should totally own this. Let's go buy a mountain." Well, if you think about it historically, that's how 49 started. That's how we have the golf course. It all starts like. And so to have that kind of just courage to go out and do anything is, I think, a hallmark of an entrepreneurial town. And Retail Strategies did a great job of pointing us in the direction of, why is Chewelah not known as an entrepreneurial hub? And I'm talking from high school to old age, that whole span of talent that we have being some sort of engine that helps to not only start in entrepreneurs into that world of business, but also develop them through it and help them succeed long term. So there's a lot of that in the plan too.
I really liked what you're talking about too, is how they're helping figure out the niche areas that we could fill on our own as far as retail businesses and stuff. Because there were so many times that I lived in Chewelah that I thought about starting a business.
Sure.
And where, and starting the radio station, I had no clue what I was getting into, whether it would work, whether it wouldn't, whether people would bite off on it and enjoy it. But there were so many other times where I thought personally I'd like to start a business in Chewelah, but I didn't because of fear of, would I spend all this money as an investment and then it wouldn't take off. So having some information for people that are in the community that says, hey, we can show you by the numbers that this is an area that if we fill it, it more than likely will blossom. That can give somebody the feeling that it's going to work, so that they move ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what it does also is it gives strength to the argument to some of the building owners that their building has value, and they need to invest in that building to maximize the value instead of just letting it sit there. Because they do as you are aware of, they do an analysis in there on the amount of revenue that can be generated off those buildings, and it looks like they're using a $15 a square foot as a benchmark, and it's really fairly phenomenal. And you were talking about the entrepreneurial thing, and last night at the board meeting for the Creative District, we had applied for a grant from the state called Renew Washington to do art education in the schools that we got. But what they failed to divulge at the beginning of the grant, that it comes with a 100% match.
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, man, how are we going to do this? But it's not a lot of money, but we don't have a lot of money. So I sat down with the board last night and said, unbeknownst to me, or maybe I missed it, but I don't think I did, this money's coming from the National Endowment for the Arts through the Washington Arts Commission. The Arts Commission isn't giving any money towards it, but the National Endowment for the Arts always requires a match. And it's 100%. What do you guys think? I think we can do it. 9 out of 9 people said, yeah, we can do it. Don't worry about it. Sign the contract.
I love it.
We'll find the money.
We'll find the money. We'll find the in kind. That's not an issue.
Right.
Okay.
Honestly, that's a great point. I hope the listeners are following with that. There are so many things like that where if you tap the right sector of stakeholders who are interested, anything is possible. If we leverage the areas that we already have, where passion exists, where investment already exists, we can get a lot of things done. We can buy mountains.
The one thing
I love that.
The one thing that always struck me is when the PACA was buying the armory from the city, there was so much negative talk around town about, this is ridiculous, they'll never make it work. Well, look at it now, and look what and PACA already had this huge body of people with the same goal and the same love of theater that I really believe there was no way it could fail with all the people that are behind it. And that's kind of, I even came out on the radio and said that is people even said that to me, but look what happened when I started the radio station. People came together to make sure that it was successful. And the same thing has happened with PACA and the Chihuahua Center for the Arts. And that's going to be a huge core of our town. So take that negative stuff and throw it away and just say, we can do this because look what else we've done.
And, honestly, PACA is such a great example, and as is the radio station. And there's so many. And culturally, Scott, you just hit on something that's so near and dear to my heart. I just hope and pray that we become the town of we can do anything. Not the tear down, oh, you'll never succeed type of thing. Because, I mean, we've just got way too many examples. We've defied the impossible over and over and over again. I mean, I'm meeting with PACA as now they've expanded, and you look at the organization, the planning, and just the step by step. I mean, they're just so responsible about how they're doing everything, and they're growing, and it's a fantastic product. It is part of the Chihuahua brand, and everybody loves it. We can do anything. And I think when we start to get behind one another, encourage one another, and then we leverage talent, people on this call, on this broadcast right now, and the other talent throughout Chihuahua, and those experienced people who have succeeded, they faced the impossible, they've heard the people say you can't do it, and they did it anyway. When you get behind the younger people who have the courage to step into that game, those young people will rise, and we'll be reproducing those things. And then we determine our future. All the topics we're talking about, the concerns, the fears, the what ifs, all that is taken care of if we become that community.
Well, Greg, last week we had Justin Schramm on from Omni Gaming.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
And he's a great example of what we're talking about.
Yes.
Well said.
So and phenomenal, organization, saw a niche and said, and wanted to move back here, that type of thing, out of Salt Lake City, and said, we can do this. And when I visited with him the other day, they're ahead of their business plan.
Awesome.
Which is really, really super.
Absolutely a great example. Yeah, if listeners have not walked into Omni Gaming and met Justin and his wife and seen the multifacets of their business and what it offers our community, you're missing out. So take the time to do that. Great example, Mike.
Yep. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes here. So, you had, I think there were the 5 focus areas.
Yeah.
Or anything you want to talk about to wrap up.
Or anything else. Okay.
All right. Well, my maybe personal pledge and pledge to the community was the things that we talked about in the campaign are going to be my focus. So those 5 focus areas are still very much alive. I think we've unwrapped business economic development pretty thoroughly so far. So I'll jump off of that one. The enforcement bucket, which is where a challenge with small towns, one of the obstacles to realizing the future they want is a lack of municipal code enforcement. So this isn't unique to Chihuahua, but we have a municipal code. And for a lot of different reasons, we've been very lacking on the enforcement of that municipal code. Easily said, big elephant to wrestle and to bring in for a landing, but we're doing some good work, foundational work. The new role that I mentioned earlier, operational support tech role, will serve a key operational function for the execution of the municipal enforcement program. Already, and hats off to our police department, they work so hard for this city. They are engaged, they buy into the whole enforcement mechanism and are going to be playing a part, but already are generating ideas of how we go about this. We're not looking at being heavy-handed. We're not looking at being big brother. It's enforcement with compassion. It's like we all enjoy our freedoms. We just need to be responsible with that freedom so that my expression of freedom doesn't encroach on someone else's. And that's why we have municipal codes. So more to come. I would just leave that enforcement subject with the qualifier. It's a big project. It's a type of project where you start at the kind of your top 10 and you work your way down, and you're never going to be perfect. But I've told everybody, if we move the needle on our municipal code enforcement by, let's just say 30%, that's the best we ever did, it would be a dramatic change to the environment in Chihuahua. And from my standpoint, the reason enforcement matters, and the last thing I'll say about it is that we need to, if we don't feel proud of Chihuahua and that doesn't show, then something deeper is wrong.
Right.
And I think through how we represent ourselves really matters. So anyway, more to come on that. From a celebration standpoint, one thing I definitely want to plug is October 1st is a calendar date that everyone should grab. As many know, last month we took our first shot at a summer festival with Soar into Summer, where we mixed hang gliding, which was ultra cool, outdoor recreation through trail twisters, a lot of ingenuity from food vendors, and hat tip to Fired Up Pizza, who launched the beer garden, really made that whole thing possible. And we had a really fun time on a Saturday in the park. We wanted to start small and build. Well, October 1st, we're taking our first shot at the Fall Festival. I'm good friends with Tim and Nandis Nielsen, and Nandis works for DNR. And she and I were having a conversation about these things, and DNR was looking for the location to host their annual Firefighter Olympics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were trying to decide, do we do it in Colville or do we do it in Chewelah? And I'm like, Nandis. No question. What do I got to do? We want the Firefighter Olympics. The board agreed. And so October 1st, that will happen in the park. Kind of like we spoke earlier, bringing passions together. Next Tuesday, I'm hosting a meeting in City Hall where DNR is going to come down. Trail Twisters or outdoor recreation nonprofit's going to be coming down. Invited 49, invited Fired Up. Anybody, stakeholders invited Jake and Patrick. Anybody that's got kind of a vested interest in a particular sector that would represent Fall and Chewelah is welcome to attend. This is really just kind of saying, okay, now we've got their core event that is going to happen, the Firefighter Olympics. We need to understand their structure and then work with them, because they reserve the whole park, to say, how can we complement, how can we augment, so that we have more of a comprehensive festival. If you recall, I think I've mentioned it on previous shows, we'd really like to see 4 robust festivals a year. We're a town that likes to celebrate. We like to get together. And I think if you tie passion, music, and a beer garden together, you got a party. So
always.
I think there's some things that you and I could talk about.
Okay.
All right, Greg, anything else you wanted to get out today?
Yep, last piece. And the last bucket is around youth. We were, I'm not saying we're out of the woods with the bowling alley, but God bless Tom and the Colville bowling alley for coming in. And they have opened back up the bowling alley for summer, which traditionally is closed. And this summer phase is a proof of concept. So if you're a bowler and you're not going bowling, please visit Chewelah Bowling Alley. But their intent would be, if successful, they're sizing up a purchase of the Chewelah Bowling Alley and to run it in the future. So that was a very, very near miss. We're really excited and hopeful that their proof of concept does result in their ownership, so our bowling alley is preserved. That's a huge opportunity for adults and youth alike, but something that's a legacy for our town. Second thing, hat tip to our Assistant Chief of Police, Colby Dollar, and B. Simmons. They approached the city. They want to, along with the Firefighters Association, who has now approved unanimously, host at least monthly theater in the park for our youth.
Oh, excellent.
The Firefighters Association, with Colby and B's leadership, has put together a business plan, a capital needs list, a timeline, a whole really sophisticated package, presented that to the city. They have our unequivocal support, really proud of the leadership they're showing in doing that. But that will result in a more formal movie night for kids in the park. And the goal is that would run May through September every single year. The only challenge I put to them, besides my support, was that they do it twice a month. So, they too, wisely, they'll start slow. It's going to be once a month, but they're all in, and that's something that's really going to add not just to activities for our youth and families. It's going to add life to our park, very much part of the Chewelah brand. So that's super exciting. And the last piece that's mentioned previously, but needs to be reinforced, coming up in fall, under the youth bucket, we are doing a Parks and Recreation feasibility analysis. Larry Fetter, who was a longtime homegrown Cheweahian, moved back a couple years ago. his whole life has been spent running Parks and Recs department on the places like Mercer Island, Hermiston, Oregon. He's done phenomenal work. Well, he has raised his hand to help us do a feasibility to develop a Parks and Recreation district, which could enable a whole lot of things, not just around the park, but around the city that could impact the whole youth bucket. So plenty going on. It's a great time to be in Chewelah. If you're looking for opportunities involved, please reach out to the city administration, make yourself known, any of the areas, business, economic development, enforcement, celebrations, communication, and youth. You see them everywhere in City Hall. Those are the 5 areas of focus, but if you're passionate about one, we would love to talk to you and get you involved.
You know, I really appreciate you. I'm sad I moved away because I won't be able to vote for you when you have to run for that second term.
Thank you, Scott.
But I've never heard somebody in Chewelah say the word youth so many times. And it was something that was, Mike knows, it was close to my heart. And everybody that we ever had on, on this show that had something to do with the city, that was Mike, what are we doing for the kids? What are we doing for the kids? And being so far away, when I heard that the bowling alley closed, my heart kind of broke. Yeah. And I was actually like, why did Greg let that happen?
That's what I signed up for. I didn't know it, but that's what
and I was going to talk to you about that. But I am so glad that these efforts are being made and that they're being paid attention to, because that is the only way. There's so many ways for kids to get themselves into trouble these days. And that is the only way to help, is to have positive reinforcement in their life and things for them to do. In our society, with mom and dad sometimes both having to work in the household, sometimes I think our kids get left behind as opposed to they did 50 years ago. And I think that's why we see so many different crises, especially with drugs in our country. And I think the more... as well as everything you're talking about with the retail strategies and keeping a vibrant community and stuff, that's a key part of it too, is those kids. So hats off to you. Keep saying that word.
You bet I will. And I would say, the credit certainly doesn't belong to me. I have the honor of being someone who gets to organize talent. I've been passionate about that for the last 20 years of my career, and I get to do it as mayor. We have got so much talent and passion in this town. There's literally nothing we can't do. So I'm going to keep us focused on these 5 buckets. I'm going to harness the talent that we've got, but it's really the talent of the people here who rise up and solve problems and create wonderful things that makes our city great.
Well, I want to thank everybody for listening on our different platforms today. I want to thank my co-hosts, Mr. Mike Bentz, and back at the studios, our station manager, Michelle Williams. Get to know her, Greg. She'll be a big asset for you. All right. And so thanks to our listeners, and thanks to our mayor, Mr. Mayor McCunn. Greg McCunn, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Greg. Yep.
All right, and then join us on next Wednesday when we will have at 8 o'clock Brad Schaefer from the Chewelah Farmers Market, right?
Oh,
yep. He's looking forward to it. I saw him last night.
All right. So take care and keep on listening to Northern Lights Public Radio. It's KCHW 102.7. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.